All right, guys, let's take a look at Alex Kipman here. I'll start with him first. Alex Kipman, a Brazilian engineer, was one of the lead developers for Microsoft HoloLens. If you don't know what Microsoft HoloLens is, you should really look at it. It's augmented reality and really what Microsoft sees as the future. That I will not be wearing these glasses. Instead, I'll have one of their glasses with their operating system running on it, and I'll see these holographic things all over the place. There's really some cool videos out there on Microsoft HoloLens. It is real. You can buy them. They're just really expensive. But Alex Kipman is one of the people behind that worked massively on this project to get it going. This is fantastic. Now, saving the next person here, because what she's done, Susan Kare, what she's done has really gone across decades of work. That's her self-portrait there, Susan Kare. And she originally started as, how should I say it? She didn't originally start. Her fame comes from working at Apple in the 1980s and creating what we see as the Apple Macintosh. So she created these font types for that. She also created a lot of the little graphics, the user interface that we see. You can look it up, Macintosh artist. Later, she created a director. She was the director at Apple Creative Services. Tons of typefaces, little icons. She was an early pioneer of pixel art. If you're not sure, most of us know what pixel art is, but that's just this. She's the reason why that's there. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have happened, because obviously it would have happened. But she created those little icons. I mean, to me, this is a massive thing because when you look at, okay, well, how has that computer affected me? Well, it's affected you in a lot of ways, but hugely in graphics, what you're seeing on the operating system. And that was her, right? She did a ton and ton of this stuff. And so she's worked for Microsoft, she's worked for IBM, she's worked for Apple, Pinterest, Facebook, right? She's continued to work. And so, well, that's why I've got her scheduled where she is, because her influence has continued to influence over the decades. Just a fantastic individual with, so much of our mind share has been influenced by her. Susan Kare, right there. Now you have a future tech reflection to do here in this last one. And we're going to talk about a couple of other things, but as discussed in class, which I plan to do this coming Monday, but if not, you're watching it here. Tell me what technology you feel will make the biggest impact in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Explain why you feel you're right. So I can't overemphasize this, right? This is not just, oh yeah, VR is going to have a huge effect. Great, why? Why do you think that's the case? What do you see in our society that's showing you that that's probably going to happen? Right? This is summing it up. This is basically saying, well, I've listened to McBride. I'm not even sure if he's right about how this stuff works. I'm not even sure about that S-curve and all that different thing. But if I was to apply those principles and I take a look at VR, what things do I see right now that are changing? Microsoft HoloLens is a good thing to research for that if you're going that direction. But where will mobile go? How about some of the changes that we're seeing in graphics processing? There's tons and tons of different things. And yeah, this is going to take a little more research. You may not get very good points on this if you actually, don't really do anything. I'm trying to get you to talk about, this is technology I'm seeing now. It's kind of in its infancy. I think it's going to do this. And this is why I think that, not just because I think it's pretty cool. Now, a couple of the other things that I wanted to talk about, there's wrapping it up, it's got nothing in there for you. So this is it right here. History of computers, the tens. Is I want to talk about the internet. We want to deal with what is its effects on us. And I could have put this in the last one, or I could have put it all sorts of places. So I want you to take a look at what is the digital divide. Can't even see that. Here's what the digital divide is. Do you agree that it's there? And if so, in what way? How is it helping us or hurting us? The digital divide is the gulf between those who have ready access to computers and the internet, and those who do not. So we're not talking about, oh yeah, there's internet down at the library if I want to go use it. We're talking about it's in my house, I can pick it up and I'm using it right now. Think about how your life would be different if you didn't have a smartphone, and maybe you don't, or you can definitely probably remember when you didn't, or you didn't have computer access. You couldn't get on one of these things. How would that hinder you? How would that stop your progression within your society? And is there a digital divide that is currently happening? So I'm going to be looking at your notes and seeing what you got in here about what I'm saying. But yes, indeed, there is a digital divide. And there is a digital divide in the United States. And you'll often note in our country that if you watch the different things that are happening that tend to be political, you will notice that they tend to divide along the lines of people in the city as opposed to people in rural areas. And the cities have become very, very powerful, that you've got these city states, meaning that they kind of control everything. Arizona is a really good example. Phoenix really controls what happens in Arizona, not the rest of Arizona. And it's the same. When you go to California, that's a very diverse state. You're going to meet all sorts of different kinds of people, but LA and Silicon Valley really control, California, and the rest of the state doesn't really have a say. So a lot of times you don't hear about the digital divide. That's kind of my point, because in those cities, they all have it and they think that everybody has it because that's what they're surrounded with. Now, obviously, people know that, oh yeah, that doesn't happen in Africa. Not everybody in the middle of Australia has it, right? In these remote places. They know that, but they don't really think of you living in Safford or Thatcher, Arizona, not having it. And there's people right here that don't. And how does that really affect their life? I mean, in its most basic, ridiculous sense, right? They don't have access to the quick entertainment and quick communications that we have, even though most of that is meaningless. But beyond that, how can they get that job, right? How can they go in and function on a computer? I have students, and some of them actually in my computer courses, that I hate to say it, don't take advantage of what they have with technology. They don't learn really how to get around in their operating system, how to, do this in an Excel file, or how to do that in Word. Even in the classes I teach it in, right? I'll have people that'll get all the way through that class, have gone through countless amounts of information, and come out with 20% of that information because they really don't care. They really don't see that as something they need, not realizing that a big portion of getting a job is going to be those things. As an example, I just graded some of my papers in 103 where I asked them, are you going to use databases in the future? And I had people go, no, I probably won't. What are you talking about? You probably won't. You're using them now, right? You're at EAC and you use Gila Hank. So even though I explained that in the video, that getting into Gila Hank is an example of using a data system, they don't know, whatever. He said stuff, so whatever. And I worry for them. I worry for them as an instructor, because where are you going to work, right? You're going to come in and they're going to say, hey, this is our system to keep track of blah, 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 blah. This is what you do. Bam, 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 bam. Get it done. I'll see you later. Right? And so they're going to quit. They're going to get fired. And that is the digital divide. That's them selectively saying, well, I want to know about Netflix, but I don't want to know about spreadsheets, and just not doing it. I always kind of assume all the people that are in my computer classes want to do all that, and that's not the truth. I have a lot of students that come in and they just want to do gaming. That's all they want to do. They want to hopefully sit there in class and absorb and that everything will be okay instead of actually studying. Digital divide is real. You have access to the internet, you have access to a computer, and that gives you so much more ability to be successful in life than somebody who does not. And we have tons of places in this country where computers are not readily accessible. And what keeps that out, we won't get into that because there's a lot of politics involved in that. I don't want to make people feel like I'm telling them about politics instead of computers. But realize that someday you're going to be working someplace. How do you perceive what that company's doing with technology? How do they reach out with that technology? Is it simply something that they do to get the job done, or are they connecting with people? Are they connecting the people internally together so that they can communicate better? Are they connecting people on the outside so that those people feel like I can actually talk to this company and they'll help me out? There's so much that computers and the internet affect us over, right? You can have people on the inside of your company basically like, yeah, we're great, we're so awesome, and we really reach out to people, but actually the technology is not there. They're not doing it at all. That's a digital divide in and of itself, because they're not reaching out and using the technology that's there to actually connect and get things done in a good way. So what do you think of the digital divide? Do a little research online and add that to your notes so that you're giving an educated explanation. You can go to Britannica, you can go to Wikipedia, and it'll give you tons of information on the digital divide. You can actually look up the digital divide on images and actually see what is happening here. And none of these are actually showing me anything by groups. I mean, by countries is what I was going for. I should put by country. And I do want to say this, correct a little history for people, a person that's almost forgotten, Al Gore. Yeah, that's Al Gore. And Al Gore had this terrible propensity for saying things wrong. Like he said, I invented the internet. He did. He said that. And he gets joked about it all the time. But the digital divide would be massive in the United States if it wasn't for Al Gore. One of the good things, there was a few good things that came out of the presidency of Clinton. And one of them was the fact that he let his vice president actually do stuff. And so he told Al Gore, the whole digital divide thing that people are talking about, the fact that we need to get our country on the internet, you deal with it. And so he went and dealt with it. He really did. And I only know this because I had to get funding and things. And if it wasn't for what he did within the government, most of these places around here in Safford and Thatcher would not have internet. And that's because even when you total up how many people are here, it's still super expensive for some company to run in fiber or something like that so that you can have internet. And any place that took advantage of what Al Gore got pushed through the Senate and Congress got to get internet and got to get fast internet. And there was a lot of places that didn't take advantage of it. But honestly, if it wasn't for him pushing for that and focusing people on it, the digital divide would still be massive in the United States. And regardless of what's shown in Europe, the digital divide exists heavily in Europe. Because again, big cities have it, but out there in the rural areas, it's too expensive. It's too expensive to run it out there to them, so they just don't even worry about it. They don't even try. And so it is a big deal. How, again, what is the digital divide? How do you perceive it? And what would your life be like? So put this in your notes. What would your life be like if you didn't have access to a computer and the internet? How would you change? So share that with me. I'm going to put out a little thing out there about the final. So keep your eye open for that. But that's really the end of the information. If you have questions, please let me know. But, it's a good time. You're busy at the end of a semester. You really are. And you don't realize what you've gone through. Now, yes, I don't mean in a pain way. You do realize what you've gone through in a pain way. But when you think of any course, what you've gone through, right? This class has covered a lot of material. We've gone through how do you navigate college and actually be successful at it? What kind of degrees are available to you? What's out there that you can actually, you know, be able to. Sorry, had to cut that off. Anyway, what I was getting to is we've covered a lot. I've really enjoyed having you guys in class, even if we haven't been able to meet face to face. I had to navigate the world of technology, and I realized that there were certain things that made me very successful in that world. One was just the ability to absorb information about technology. I've always had that, and I love that. But I also had very good study habits because when I was younger, I struggled as a student. So by the time I got to college, I was really good as a student. Was the teacher asking me, when do I have to have it in? How do I put that together? Right. And so you're beginning that journey for many of you, and it will happen. You just have to put forward the energy to do it. And again, we tend a lot of times these days to spend tons of time on relaxing and not enough time on actually doing our work. So spend time doing work. The IAT industry is growing, and in being able to navigate education, being able to figure out what degree do I want, do I need that? Do I need a 2-year degree and get some certifications? Do I want to get my bachelor's? And really trying to force you guys to look at, where am I going to be 5 or 10 years? What should I expect out of that? And really understanding that there's a lot more that you can expect out of that than you think. There's lots of success out there. And that's why I've tried to bring in people that can express that to you, that can actually show that and show that, hey, I came to EA and I'm making good money doing what I'm doing. And there's a lot more that I wanted to actually have in class that I didn't get a chance to due to COVID. But in any case, enjoyed having you in class. If you have any questions, seriously, ask me. What are you doing for the next semester? You need to get into networking course. If you're serious about getting anything in technology, that networking class is fundamental to you. And so please ask me questions, get into that class, and I'll see you after Christmas. Stay safe, stay away from COVID if you can.